Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Breakfast Club, starring Molly Ringwald, Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall, Judd Nelson, and Ali Sheedy, and directed by John Hughes. Now, I have seen this movie a couple of times in my life. Let's see if this turns out to be as the classic as everybody says it is. Let's get into the movie. We start after the opening credits with the famous song from the movie called Don't You Forget About Me. And I love this song as this was the appropriate to use to opening and close the movie. But we open with Shermer High School on Saturday, March 24th, 1984, in a town called Shermer, Illinois, as we get the detention with five unlucky kids, starting with Clara Standish, played by Molly Ringwald, as she's the princess of the group. The second person is Brian Johnson, played by a young Anthony Michael Hall, whom was recently in Halloween Kills, as he listens to his mother and his little brother talking shit about him. Andrew Clark, played by Emilio Estevez, as he's the jock of the group. We get criminal John Bender, played by Judd Nelson, and goth girl Allison Reynolds, played by Ali Sheedy, as they get dropped off for detention on a Saturday. For what reason? The audience learns for half the movie. And as I really like these characters, as they're really relatable as we slowly get to know them. They go in the detention room and have a pep talk with Richard Vernon about the rules of detention for at least 9 hours, as they read an essay that's 1,000 words long, as they're not allowed to talk while they do break the rules. Therefore, this movie is about breaking the rules while in detention on a Saturday for 9 fucking hours. And we'll use some of the time to get to know the hours and have some fun with them. John picks on Andrew and Claire about being a couple, while Andrew and Claire tell John off, while Brian babbles on about how he's in clubs and does what they do in the clubs, while John torments Andrew and closes the door while Richard is out of the water fountain. And Richard comes back and tries to get the screw out of the students, and John gets himself 7 detentions in a row. And the way the movie is shot is pretty tremendous, as the students play around with the strings with some classic shots in this movie, as it works tremendously. As we get to know the characters, the script is a piece of genius to the point they first can't come off despicable, but as we get to know them again, like I said before, they're relatable. We meet the janitor named Carl, who comes in and tells them the clock is 20 minutes off, and as they whistle, Richard comes in and calls out lunch break and sends Andrew and Allison to the soda machine, while John bugs the crap out of Claire, while Brian sends emotion to Claire as he's a virgin. And Claire is fine with it. And when Andrew and Allison come back, they eat their lunch, while with Allison eating something that I swear to God looked a hell of a lot like marijuana, while John sees what everyone is eating and criticizes Brian the most about what his parents do to him, while we learn about John's parents being abusive to him as he acts like a monkey and climbs the stairs as he's insulted thanks to Andrew and John taking everyone else to his locker, while Richard is gone and they sneak out and grab some marijuana and go back to the room. And the way they sneak around is unforgettably funny, as I'm liking and caring for these unforgettable characters, and in my opinion, this movie is pretty unforgettable in my opinion. John gets everyone back safely while he goes to the gymnasium and gets caught and gets in trouble by Richard, as Richard threatens him and wants to fight John while insulting him like a Satan he is. And John Hughes does an incredible job at making the Richard look like the brute of the movie. Richard hears the noise of John breaking out and hiding and looks in Claire's underpanties as she's disgusted by John, and the character arcs work fucking great. They go to a private spot to smoke marijuana where Richard can't smell it, and they're all as high as a fucking kite. For example, Andrew jumping around like a monkey would do, which was hilarious. Allison tells everyone Brian's private info is in his wallet, as she stole it while John and Claire ask questions about each other, And Andrew and Brian ask about Allison, as she barely talked until at this point in the movie, while Ali Sheedy does a good job playing the dark gothic character, as she wants to prepare herself for life, and it works very well. Andrew and Allison talk about their own problems, as Allison has been ignored all her life, and I do like the character development from Allison. While Richard was a teacher before he was a principal, while the five students talk about their lives, as Allison confesses she'll do anything sexual, like nailing a shrink, for example, as Claire is a tease when it comes to sex, as she and Allison are both virgins, as Allison lies about it, and Andrew doesn't think of it for himself, as we learned about how Andrew got detention for pulling hair and skin off another student named Larry from another tape for his old man, while his friends laughed and cheered him, and I enjoyed his character the most, as I've gotten in trouble like that before when I was in high school. So in my opinion, he was the most relatable. And John is the second most relatable in this movie, as they make each other sad and uncomfortable and upset, as Claire starts to hate on John, as we also learn Allison doesn't have any friends, and Claire tells Brian he doesn't have any friends as he had a gun in his locker, which is the reason why he's in detention, and he tells them it was a flare gun, as Andrew starts to laugh and Allison confesses she did absolutely nothing and had no other thing to do as they dance and have some classic shots, as this movie is a classic for a damn good reason. John goes back to the room he was punished in earlier in the film, as Brian writes everyone's essay, while Claire does Allison's makeup, and next scene you know, comes in the room and with John and kisses him, as Allison looks at a different person while showing herself in front of Andrew and Brian, and Andrew likes the new look Allison has. It's all over, and the classic song comes on, and as Andrew and Allison kiss, and Claire gives John an earring she had on, and John walks home and raises his hand as a fist, and proud of all of them, as they're all the Breakfast Club, and the climax is a brilliant way to end the movie with a brilliant song. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.9 out of 10. The characters are tremendous, and they were perfectly casted, and John Hughes does a good job with their arcs, and I can relate with these guys, including Emilio Estevez, as he was the most relatable, and same with Judd Nelson, as he's second best in my opinion. There are times I laughed out loud, and the shots are brilliant for classic reasons, as this movie is a classic for lots of reasons, and I recommend any youngster to check this movie out because it's a great and classic movie. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for the Breakfast Club, and until then, don't you forget about me.